Right after humanity's colonisation of the Milky Way galaxy came our species' first true golden age. However, it was not to last. With the eventual arrival of the dark, godlike invaders, the coup. Following their entrance, the worlds of humanity were transformed into the visions of the coup. Little was left untouched, as they remade our galaxy as they saw fit, as was their sole, unifying mission as a race. Forming the prior humanity into a myriad of strange new forms. But all of this is ancient history, happening around 1 billion years ago from the perspective of the author of All Tomorrows. Something that we don't have a lot of information about is what led the coup to human-controlled space in the first place. To answer this question, we need to look at the coup and their MO a little closer and speculate as to the most likely answer. The first and most likely answer to this question is that the coup, a nomadic culture who saw their role in the universe to move throughout it and remake it to their will, was simply making their way through our galaxy at the time, as a part of that billion-year-old migration, and humanity was simply just caught in the way. Unfortunately, humanity's worlds appeared empty to the coup. No raw materials available other than the people that filled the worlds, and a few sparse, genetically modified animals and plants that came from Earth. This was because humans had erased the previous alien ecologies of these worlds as they transformed them and terraformed them into their own. The coup, offended by this lower race's attempt to remake the universe, set forth to punish us as infidels by using humanity as the building blocks of their dark visions. However, there is another possibility that I think should at least be discussed, and it has to do with the process the coup seemed to follow during their conquests across the universe. Following their first invasion that lasted for around 40 million years in the Milky Way galaxy, they left almost as suddenly as they had arrived, as theirs was a never-ending quest and they could not stop until they had swept through the entire cosmos. Behind, they left every human world destroyed, depopulated, or even worse, changed. However, more importantly to our subject today, they also left kilometre-high pyramid towers. Such structures are a hallmark of the coup, and they can be seen on every habitable world they passed through. For at least a few post-human civilizations, such as the Ruin Haunters, these structures, as well as those left behind by their ancient forebearers, the Star People, allowed them to rapidly learn of their history and engineer those technologies left behind by the now long gone coup. However, if this is true, and as the author explains, then it should stand to reason that the Star People of the first golden era of humanity, before the initial invasion, very likely came across these pyramids before the coup invasion occurred. During those times, a small discovery of immense implication warned humanity that it might not be alone in the stars. On a newly colonised world during the Star People's reign, engineers had stumbled upon the remains of a puzzling creature. Considered so because it had every hallmark of terrestrial animals on an alien planet. Named Pandora, the colossal fossil belonged to a bird-like creature with enormous claws. Later research determined it to be a highly derived theranosaur, from a lineage of herbivorous dinosaurs that died out millions of years ago on Earth. While every other large land animal on that colony world had 3 limbs and a copper-based skeletal system, as well as hydrostatically operated muscles, Pandoravis was a typical terrestrial vertebrate with calcium-rich bones and 4 extremities. Finding it there was as unlikely as finding an alien creature in Earth's own strata. For some, it was irrefutable proof of a divine creator. The religious resurgence, fueled at first by mankind's apparent loneliness in the heavens, got even more intensified after this discovery. But others saw it differently. Pandora had shown humans that entities, powerful enough to visit Earth, take animals from there and adapt them to an alien world, were at large in the galaxy. Considering the time gulf of the fossil itself, the mysterious beings were millennia older than humanity when they were capable of doing these such things. The warning was clear, or so it seemed. Whilst not mentioned by the alien author of All Tomorrows, the existence of Pandora implies that the coup had likely moved through the Milky Way millions of years prior to the Star People's conquest of it. If that is true, then it stands to reason the coup's signature kilometre pyramids were present at least the world where Pandora was discovered. If the pyramids had been left behind, potentially so was a way of contacting the coup, some kind of communication or beacon technology, perhaps even a failsafe built in by the coup in case of the rebirth of advanced societies on their previously transfigured worlds, something that would be accidentally triggered when exploring the pyramids. What I believe to be far more likely, though, is linked to humanity's reborn faith and religious beliefs, following the knowledge that the species responsible for Pandora was likely one of god-like abilities, and were at that state at least millions of years before humanity had even rose to move across the Milky Way galaxy. There would be no telling what a kind of meeting would be like between humanity and this civilization. If a religion cropped up around these mysterious nomadic gods, developed and knew of the means to contact the coup, I think it's very possible that they could be the sole reason that the coup seemed to loop back around to the Milky Way galaxy once more. Otherwise, it would seem strange that the coup, on their ever-roaming quest of the entire universe, would revisit a prior area of space that they had already rebuilt or already remade, when there is so much more for them to do outside of our very small corner of the cosmos. It's likely any religion hoped for a benevolent contact that would be obviously preferred, and even expected. Yet, they could not know the horror and the evil that the coup would unleash on humanity, changing the course of our species forever. After they encountered humans, we were seen as nothing more to them than a transmutable subject. But like anything with the history surrounding All Tomorrows, these recorded events span many millions and billions of years, and the true story is only really starting to come together as new evidence is discovered. So for now, all of this remains pure speculation. The project would like to open the speculation up to all of you. This catalogue invites discussion on how you think it could have happened, or anything else you theorise about the timeline of All Tomorrows. Also, if you would like to see a full reading of the All Tomorrows book, please comment on this data log and I'll make that happen. And remember, love today and seize all tomorrows.